Oh, you make me wanna
We finally won a game, baby! Oh, it feels so good.
No, I'm really shocked that we blew another lead.
Take it easy, take it easy, take it easy.
At least this was only a 1-goal lead this time. Yeah, it's fine.
A little bit louder now, a little bit louder now, a little bit louder now.
I'm about to ask Bruce whatever barbecue he's got, because if it chokes him the way it chokes this team, then I will take it, because I just can't. Oh, shut up.
Hey,
No, I will not sing along with you.
hey, hey. Shout now, jump up and shout now, jump up and shout now. Woo! Thank God! Huge win! And what we desperately needed. Oh, man! Thanks for coming over, by the way. Hey, you're good, right?
I'm gonna go, dude. I can't take it.
Have fun. Yes!
Something I've been wanting to say for so long. Wild win. Man, does it feel good. It took a while, okay? It definitely took longer than it should have. But we have a win. We are in the W column. We are there. We've finally done it. And I said at the end of the last episode that I recorded, I'm looking forward to some sort of religious sacrament or something biblical to try and help me out. And instead, I got a message from the gods that pointed at our schedule and who we were playing. One of the only other teams in the league that hadn't won, and it often lost in embarrassing fashion, blowing multi-goal leads in their first 4 games. That team was the Vancouver Canucks, and it was the last team of our 4-game homestand to open the season. So the gods basically said, if you can't win this one, that's on you. This was our best shot. And right away, it was looking pretty good for Minnesota. Not only did we have Jordan Greenway finally back into the lineup, it was also Goligoski's 1,000th game. So that was the big celebration tonight. Marco Rossi was back in the lineup after being scratched against Colorado. And Marc-Andre Fleury was back in net. So they brought everybody back in. And Minnesota was looking good. Okay, we were looking good. Especially with the new fourth line, because when they added Greenway back in to remake the Grief line, the fourth line became Tyson Jost, Brandon Duhaime, and Sam Steele, and they were cooking. They were definitely cooking and rolling back. And who would have guessed, when all those elements are added in, we get a lead. The first lead we've ever had this season. And it comes from Matt Zuccarello. 15:23 into the first period. Matt Zuccarello gets his 3rd of the year, assisted by Hartman and Middleton. Basically, this shot goes into the corner. Hartman's there. He gets double teamed, tries to throw it just out, but it ends up bouncing off of Canucks defender, rolls into the middle, and Zuccarello is right there to just bang it home, and it goes top shelf, and it's 1-0. Minnesota actually has a lead in a game. Crazy, crazy time. Absolutely crazy time. And so I wrote on here, a lead. Thank the heavens, because it took a while. But Minnesota would keep going, okay? They kept the relentless pressure. They kept the forecheck because they were dominating the Canucks early on in this game. And then somewhere along the line, they took their foot off the pedal. It just completely fell apart, honestly. Because then the Canucks, 12:02 left in the first period, they get a goal. So Horvat gets his 4th of the season, assisted by Pearson and Besser. Basically, Horvat ends up walking right behind Matt Dumba. It's a 2-on-2 with Horvat and Pearson. Pearson beats Brodin, able to get the shot past, and Dumba, who is looking at the puck, doesn't realize that Bo Horvat passed him, and it's a tap-in backdoor. Bo Horvat gets the goal for the Canucks. So it's 1-1. And of course, it's going to be a tight game because both teams don't have a win yet. The Canucks have a point, but they don't have a win. They lost in overtime to the Blue Jackets. And Jordan Greenway was getting in a little bit more, on the physical side, but that might have cost him because he ended up leaving the game at one point, and he would not return. So because of that, Minnesota has to shuffle its lines yet again. So now they throw Tyson Jost back onto the Greek line, making it the G for Jeff line. And now all the lines are just completely scrambled. So he's just kind of rolling with it and trying to figure it out. But this is where the Canucks start to dominate. Okay, the middle of the first period. The ends of the first period were dominated by Minnesota. The middle, all Canucks. Okay, they got that first one, like I said, and they would continue to roll. They would continue to keep going. They would continue to forecheck. The teams who forecheck usually win. And the Canucks proved that anytime they were dominating in the game. Anytime any team was dominating, they forechecked. And because the Canucks forechecked, they got a 2-1 lead. Basically, 3:13 left in the first period. Amon gets his first of the year, assisted by Joshua Hughes. Basically, Amon somehow finds a way to get past a flat-footed Ryan Hartman, drives towards the net, takes his backhand, goes back forehand, and somehow gets it past Marc-Andre Fleury. They said on the broadcast Fleury was confused. It somehow just snuck underneath him. It's a shot he should have because it's that close. But that makes it 2-1. And now fans just like me are like, oh, not again. We cannot blow this again. And so like I said, 3 minutes, 13 seconds left when the Canucks get their second goal. So Wild fans are like, geez, this is going to happen again. But luckily, we get some life. And we get a big amount of life. 1 minute left in the period. On the dot, Sam Steele gets his second of the season, assisted by Kaprizov. Basically, Kaprizov takes the puck himself, rushes all the way up the ice, goes to the boards, finds Sam Steele in the slot, one-timer, beats Demko. And just like that, with 1 minute left in the first period, it is tied 2-2. And also good news that they mentioned on the broadcast, John Merrill will be back versus Boston. And this is the point where Greenway went down the tunnel, or at least when I wrote it down. So John Merrill will be back for the game against Boston. I'm not sure who he's going to replace. He might replace Addison, but honestly, I kind of don't want him to because Addison has looked really good in these first 4 games. So I'm hoping he doesn't replace Addison, but we'll see what happens with Boston. So that's the end of the first. And like I said, Minnesota dominated the beginning and the end of the first period. The middle was all Vancouver. So I told them, keep the forecheck up. Shots 13-8 in favor of Minnesota. So then, second period rolls along. They let me know that Hockey Day Minnesota's in White Bear Lake and the Wild will play the Sabres. But at the beginning of the second period, it looks like the Wild have a good chance. Pearson takes a hooking penalty, and so Minnesota actually has their second power play of the game. Their first one, once I find it, their first one actually came 39 seconds into the game. Luke Schenn cross-checking penalty, but nothing came out of that. And nothing came out of this one either, unfortunately. So it's still a 2-2 game. Minnesota had a decent power play, but they just kind of they overpassed, basically. And that's their problem usually. They overpass too much, and it comes back to bite them. That's usually a problem that Zuccarello has, but Zuccarello was rolling in this game. Okay, he was absolutely on fire. 16:51, Riley Stillman and Brandon Duhaime start a fight. Stillman ended up getting some stitches on his lip, so he went down the tunnel to go get those stitches, came right back. But yeah, it looked like Duhaime won the fight. I mean, Duhaime landed on top of him. I don't know how you win fights when neither guy really throws a punch and one guy just throws the other to the ground. So there's that. Then 13:04, Middleton gets a tripping penalty, so the Vancouver's on a power play. Right before that, though, Freddie Gaudreau, this poor guy. I mean, I think he already has a goal, but he has been denied numerous chances. He had the close chance against the Avs in the last game. He gets another ridiculous chance here. Demko is falling down. The puck is somewhere in the crease. There's like three green sweaters there, and then Gaudreau shows up, making it 4. There's a few white sweaters, and they're trying to clear the puck out. Eventually, Gaudreau gets it, fires it, but Burrows, for the Canucks, somehow has his skate on the line. It hits the skate and then goes out. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This poor guy cannot catch a break at all. So Gaudreau, this has happened twice in 2 straight games. Gaudreau's had a chance to have a momentum swinging goal and just bad luck just ends up screwing him over. It's rough. So, obviously the Middleton tripping penalty gives Vancouver a power play. They said Greenway won't return. Vancouver doesn't get anything on the power play. And the game kind of went to a lull after that. Anthony LaPanta called it conservative hockey on the broadcast. So it definitely went into a lull, very back and forth, neither team really gaining advantage. But then eventually, Joshua gets a goal for the Vancouver Canucks. 6:23 left in the second period. He gets his first of the year, assisted by Ekman Larsson and Amon, the guy who scored the second goal for the Canucks. Basically, the puck is shot on net by Ekman Larsson. It's tipped in front by Joshua. The tip hits Fleury's pad. Joshua regains his own rebound, tries to go backdoor right in front of Fleury. Fleury makes a fantastic save. Mind you, he was good in this game. So Fleury makes a fantastic save, but unfortunately Joshua gets the rebound and just flips it up and over Fleury, who is down. Nothing Fleury can do there. Fleury was really bailing us out, but there's nothing he could have done there. So it's 3-2 Canucks, and a part of the reason for that was because Kaprizov and Zuccarello had a long shift, so they couldn't really get there. They couldn't really stop anything. So they stayed out there for a little too long, and it ends up in the back of our net. And it's 3-2, and then eventually the period comes to an end. So it's the end of the second, and I write down, thank God that period ended. We need to get back on the forecheck because we looked gassed. And at the end of the second period, we did look gassed. We could not get the puck out of our zone. Vancouver was hemming us in, and it just looked brutal. It looked brutal to watch. Then we get to the third period. At 18:54, I write the Wild need to have fun, because that's what Ryan Carter said. He said they need to have fun. They need to stop treating this so seriously, and they need to have the fun, good expressions on their faces. And that's true. The Wild haven't looked fun. It hasn't looked like they've had fun, frankly. That's what I mean. They always straight face, trying to get back in, because they're usually down 3 goals. This time, they're only down by 1 in the third period, and they have a chance to come back. So, at 16:54 left in the third period is when the Wild finally start to get some chances. 15-13, a close chance by the top line. So now Minnesota's really starting to roll with it. They're starting to have fun. We come back to this part. 12:49, Tanner Pearson gets a tripping penalty. This is the third penalty of the game for the Canucks. Minnesota hasn't had anything on the first 2. But this one was clutch. And it's weird to say that because power play, special teams in general for the Wild is not really a strong suit of theirs. But the beginning of this season, they have been pretty good, especially on the power play. Coming into this game, they put on a stat that said, 42.9% on the power play for Minnesota in the first 3 games. That was second in the NHL. 6 of 14 on the power play. That's good. That is very good on the power play. We have not been that good usually historically. And of course, another one right here. Guess who it is? Zuccarello, not Kaprizov. But he will come back to play in a later bit. At 11:29 left in the third, a power play goal from Zuccarello, his 4th of the season, assisted by Kaprizov and Addison. Basically, Tyler Myers loses his stick, so it's what LaPanta calls a 5 versus 3.5, because the guy doesn't have a stick. So Myers is out there in no man's land. He can't really get his stick because it's behind the Wild, so he's not going to let them go get it. So he's kind of stuck out in no man's land. Zuccarello just kind of sneaks right next to the post. Kaprizov fires a pass over to Zuccarello. He tips it right in, this much room, tips it right in between the pad and the post for Demko, and it's tied 3-3. Then the Wild continue to start gaining momentum. Ryan Hartman has a good shift. A great backdoor save by Fleury. Eriksson Ek and JT Miller end up scuffling. That causes a 4-on-4 that somehow throws Foligno in the box instead of Ek, but alright, sure, it's a 4-on-4. A wicked close chance by Duhaime at 6:50 left. Then things start to get dicey because at 5:31, Jonas Brodin takes a holding penalty, and the game is tied 3-3. So obviously it's getting dicey. Pins and needles almost. But at 4:16, Fleury, who, aside from letting in 3 goals, has been on fire this game. He has been rolling. He shows why. He makes his biggest save of the night. One of those backdoor chances, bang bang plays that usually goes in. This one gets stopped by Fleury and is able to be cleared out by Minnesota. They end up killing that penalty off. at 3:22. Like I said, great kill by Minnesota leads to an Eriksson Ek chance. The game eventually fizzles to overtime. And this is where things really get dicey because we haven't been in an overtime game yet. The Canucks were in one 2 nights ago against Columbus and they lost. And they had a lead in that game. They had a lead in this one too. But, oh man, like I said, pins and needles trying to watch overtime in this because it's the first win of the season and you know whoever gets it gets a huge boost of momentum. It's also, whoever doesn't get it becomes the only team in the league that doesn't have a win because the Sharks were the third team that didn't have a win coming into the night. They won. So, down between either us or Vancouver that does not have a win compared to the rest of the league. And luckily, we do not have to be that lone child, okay? Because 1:57 left in overtime. The game-winning goal goes to Kirill Kaprizov, his 4th of the season. He's tied with Matt Zuccarello. Each of them have 4 on the year. And the assists were Zuccarello and Addison. Basically, Kaprizov is working down low. He ends up going behind the net, gets tripped. So the puck goes out to our zone. Fleury, who's coming back to the bench, plays it right before he gets to center ice, then passes it off. Now it's a 4-on-3. The Wild are able to keep possession the whole time, and they're able to get multiple chances, continue to fire at him. Kaprizov eventually has the puck right next to Demko. He's literally just standing right there. None of the Canucks go to attack him because they're just worried of any pass across. So Kaprizov takes a shot, puck bounces off of Demko. Demko ends up going down somehow. He can't get back into play because I think his own guys were trying to just block the net for him, just trying to be extra body so that the puck just doesn't go in. Kaprizov eventually gets it. He fires on an empty net, essentially, and the place goes nuts. And that is how we get our first points of the season. It took way too long, but we finally have it, and it's a good, all-around, deserved win, okay? Obviously, things look tough a little bit. That second period was rough. The middle of the first period, kind of rough, okay? But the way to fight back and have fun in the game, that's what makes the difference, okay? And that is what gives us our first 2 points of the season. Well, unfortunately, that was our last game of the homestand. Now, we have a road trip that spans 10 days and goes to 5 different cities. We start off on Saturday, 11:30 a.m. Central Time at Boston. That's our first road game, and it's early in the morning. Well, earlier than most games in the morning. By the way, shots in this, Minnesota had 37, Vancouver had 26. If we can hold our opponents to below 30 shots a game, we should be fine, especially if Fleury plays the way he did. We should be fine, okay? Obviously, record is 1-3-0, but it doesn't matter. We won, okay? We have a win. Record will matter later on, but we just had to get momentum going, and now we got it. We've got our points. Now we can get on the road and start to string a few together. So this is good. This is good. This is really good. But anyways, that is it for this video. Thank you for watching. Click like if you liked it. Click subscribe if you want to see more. I'm going to continue to follow the Wild because when stuff like this happens, it starts to build and it continues to go and go and go and go. And also your season is not defined by the first 4 games. Hate to break it to you, there's 82 of them, okay? So we got a lot of time. But anyways, that's it for this one. I'll see you later. Peace.